All right, so this is for the University of St. Thomas Math 005, and we're starting on 2.7, and this is going to be Lesson 5, Part 3. And we're going to talk about absolute value with both equations and inequalities. And basically a lot of the stuff that we've already been doing is going to come into play. We're just kind of, building layer upon layer here with our mathematics. A word about absolute value. Absolute value is the distance something is away from zero. It is not, changing the signs on things or operating. All it does is it tells you how far away that particular number is from zero. So if I have a -3 inside my absolute value bars, oops, it helps if I tell it to write. Okay, so if I have a -3 inside my absolute value bars, my distance from zero is 3. Same way, if I have 3 inside my absolute value bars, that's also 3 units away. So keep in mind that absolute value can never be negative. It could be 0, and it can be any positive number, but all I'm saying is that I've got a distance away from 0. If I don't have a distance away from 0, I'm on 0, or I am, if I don't have a negative number, or if I have a negative number, it's not true. It's a false statement. It's a contradiction, so we can ignore it, okay, or say that there is no solution. All right, so in this case, I'm going to get started. First of all, let's take a look. It says I have the absolute value of x plus 2 minus 6 equals -2. Now, having just talked about this, probably your first reaction is going to be, it's negative, it's not real, there's no solution, right? There's nothing we can do with this. Except, it's not just the absolute value there. We need to deal with that -6 on the same side as the absolute value in order to be able to determine whether or not it's a positive value and whether we can solve for it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go rewrite this to be my absolute value of x plus 2. And I am going to say that's equal to, I'm going to add 6 to both sides, so that's going to be equal to 4. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, all right, that can work. Now I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to split it into 2 parts. The first part is saying, okay, my x plus 2 equals 4. And that's a true statement, right? That's exactly what we have there. Now, here, I'm not sure if this was a positive 4 or a -4, right? Because this could have been negative. We don't know. So now we're going to go ahead and say this is our x plus 2 equals -4. And now we have 2 things to solve. And once we solve those, we will know both of our solutions. All right. So here I've got my x plus 2 equals 4. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So my x is going to equal 2. In this case, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And now I'm going to have x is going to equal -6. So my 2 solutions here, and I do have 2 solutions. My solutions are x equals -6 and x equals 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and work on this next one. Same kind of problem. Here, I go ahead and I'm going to subtract that 2 from 2. That says I have an absolute value of 4x minus 3 equals 0. Right? Because if I have 2 and I take away 2, I have 0. So now, what I've got to deal with in this is I'm going to set this equal to 0, and I'm going to solve for my x. So I've got, and I'm only going to have one solution, right? Because I don't have any, there's no plus or minus 0. It's just 0. So I'm going to have 4x minus 3 equals 0. And I'm going to subtract, or I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I've got 4x equals 3. And divide both sides by 4. And x equals 3/4. And what that says to me is that whatever value I plug into that, that is going to get me to a 0. This 3/4, if I put that in here, this is going to get me to 0. So they basically undo each other, so it gets to a 0 value. Here I'm going to go ahead and, again, it's really quick. I'm going to take my absolute value of 2x minus 3, and I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. So that's going to become a negative. That's going to subtract the 2 is going to give me a positive 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and split this apart. So this becomes 2x minus 3 equals 3, and 2x minus 3 is going to equal negative 3. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do my algebraic manipulation, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I'm going to have a 2x equals 6. Divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me x equals 3. All right, so that's one of my solutions. Here, I'm going to say I have 2x minus 3 equals negative 3. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I have 2x equals 0. Divide both sides by 2. That's going to give me x equals 0. All right, there are my 2 solutions. I'm actually going to stop the video at this point and start recording a new one here when we start talking about our inequalities.